Okay, you guys, I'm gonna try this again. I just made an hour-long video, and I don't know what happened. It wasn't able to upload, so I'm gonna try this again. So, I wanted to try to help you get a really good and intense look at what the personhood is, and it will help you gauge yourself on your path. Number one, first and foremost, that's primary. But also, it'll help you gauge other people out here. When these people out here are telling you that they're realized and they're finished on the path, it'll help you gauge. If you understand what the personhood is in yourself, and you see any of these behaviors in other people, you will understand that they're not finished. And that's really the importance of this. And what does it matter if somebody's finished or not? It's that you don't get taken in by these people. See, if you have nothing to do with them, if your learning on your spiritual path has nothing to do with these con artists out here, then who cares what they say? But it's to help you protect yourself. Okay? This is the importance of this. So, and also keeping with, because the self-realization series that I've been recording for you guys, it's all, the last one I put up was about the false self, and then we had the concepts by Nisargadatta. So I don't want to lose that. I want you to hone in on this right now. So real fast before we get into this, I want to tell you what's happening. After I made my last video about Ramakrishna having to imagine the sword and cutting up Kali to be free to become a Paramahamsa, this being that's here has been kicking it up 1,000 notches, hurting me in the private area, constantly sending me electricity to the ring finger, telling me it's married to me, and also sending me tons and tons and tons of sandalwood scent. So I remember with my first guru that I went to a workshop that he did, and he said when you're in oneness with the source, that you will get a cosmic scent depending on where you come from. He said if you come from the heart, you'll get jasmine, and if you come from, I forgot where he said what sandalwood was, where it was, and but I got sandalwood. That was my scent. Well, I'm being bombarded with this scent of sandalwood. And here's the only thing I could tell you. Now, remember I told you with the interdimensional beings that just like us, they have the source flowing through them, but they also have their own characteristics. They also must become self-realized, just like we have to. You see? So what this thing is doing is very personal. It's possessive of me. It keeps telling me it's married to me, that it owns me. And then shooting me the sandalwood to make me believe that this thing is God. It's personal. This is personal. It's in the personhood. So you have to be able to discern these things. So this is not God here. It's not God. So I was thinking about how am I supposed to transcend this, to get past this, move past this hallucination with this thing here. And that too is a part of the psychological mind, the thought process. How am I going to do this? Well, I don't have to do anything. The source, every time I had a shift, any kind of insight, it wasn't anything I did. It was graced on me, and this is my answer, that when it's time for me to see what I need to do, I will be shown, and I don't need to worry about doing anything right now. My thought was, because I didn't have a guru to help me get through this, how was I supposed to know? The source will lead me through it, and that's the answer that I got, and that's what I'm comfortable with. My whole entire experience on this path has been that. Nothing any human being out there has ever said to me has caused a shift to happen or anything like that. It has always been cosmic. So that's where I rest, and I'm okay with that. So let's get started. Om Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. From ignorance lead me to truth. From darkness lead me to light. From death lead me to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Okay. So here's what I would like for you to see. Now this is going to be general but extremely deep. It's going to help you right away. It should help you right away to identify the personhood in yourself and in others. And I want to refer you back to the reading by Nisargadatta when he asked the questioner to go back and investigate the child consciousness and investigate the seed. Go back and look for the seed. What happens with the seed? Well, what the questioner came back with was that the seed disappeared and it turned into a seedling, and the seedling disappeared and it turned into a tree, and then the tree disappeared. And so the correction that Nisargadatta gave was that it didn't disappear, it transformed. See, and this is what we're constantly doing in life, not just on a spiritual path, in life. From birth until the time we leave the form, we are consistently transforming. Whether it is the way we think, the way we see things, whatever understandings we have in our life, we are transforming. Okay? So I was thinking of how could I get you an example to help you understand this as closely as possible. And here's one that I came up with. You know, I said in my last video, I gave an example of if you have a child and your child is school age and you see your child struggling to learn the multiplication tables, and it brings a thought to your mind of when you were struggling at that same age to learn those same multiplication tables, and it just brings a smile to your face. You're not feeling that frustration that you felt back then. It's just a fond recollection that you have of something that you had experienced. This is exactly what it is when you transcend the personhood. It's exactly what it is. I can look back at things that I used to do or beliefs that I used to have, and I can look at people now who are still in those same beliefs or still doing those same things right now. The difference with me is I can say I have immense compassion for people and a tremendous amount of empathy. So I can literally feel the frustration that I used to feel when I was back in those times. And I can literally feel compassion for these people and know that they have to go through the process, but wish that they could have just hurry up and transcended it, because the frustration is real. Until you see differently, the frustration is real. So for you younger people out there, think of anything that you were struggling to learn. It could have been a concept in school. Let's say you're struggling to learn a math problem, or you're struggling to learn a concept about the universe in one of your classes, and then you get it. The light bulb went on. You get it. And your friend is still struggling with it. And you see there, and this is what I call being in the sleep on a different level, though. You see, but it's analogous to the same thing. This is what I would call being in the sleep. So the light bulb went off for you. You would be considered awake. And your friend is still struggling with that concept. They would be considered asleep. This is exactly what happens on the path. Okay? So when you wake up, you have seen the reality, while others around you are still struggling to see the reality. It doesn't mean that they're any less the self. It just means they don't know that they are the self yet. See, and here's the thing. When you understand fully that you are no longer the form or the psychological mind, you no longer see others as the form or the psychological mind. It is natural. Do a little exercise with yourself. If I tell you right now, either don't look at any red car out on the street or count how many red cars you see on the street, all of a sudden you will start noticing red cars everywhere. Okay? So when you identify with the form, then you see everybody else as the form. And that is what we're saying is our level of consciousness. Okay? When you have transformed that, transcended that, and you no longer see yourself as the form, then you no longer see anyone else as the form either. And that really is just how it is. You cannot see yourself. If you see yourself as not the form, but you're seeing others as the form, then you're deluding yourself because that ego is still hiding back there. Muji put out a song. It's really cool. It's called Duppy in the House. That ghost that hangs around here, that is the ego. That is the ego. That's a duppy in the house. So, yeah, if you're telling yourself that you're no longer the form, but you're still seeing others as the form, then that is your ego deluding you. And that is something you really need to pay strong attention to. Because when you truly no longer see yourself as the form, then you will not see anyone else as the form either. And having said that, no longer seeing yourself as the form, you still understand that the form is important. You need the form, otherwise all of this experience stops. So you must take care of the form. The difference is you no longer call attention to the form. And this is how you can tell who is still in personhood. People who still call attention to the form, they're still in personhood because they still see themselves as the form and they see others as the form. That should be like a flashing light. Anyone who is calling attention to their form, flaunting off their sexuality, that is someone in the personhood. And I want to bring your attention, those of you out there that are single, and those that are married now, you remember what it was like when you were single. When you were out there trolling and you're looking for a partner, a mate, right? What are you doing? You make sure the hair's perfect. You make sure the makeup is perfect. The clothes are perfect. You're in good form. Your body's in good shape because you want to attract a mate, right? When you have that mate and you're secure in a relationship, you're no longer out there trolling for anybody. So you're not calling attention to yourself any longer because you're content in your relationship. This is the same exact thing on the path. When you are content and secure in yourself that you are the self and you are not this form, you will no longer call attention to the form. And all of these fakes out here who are constantly calling attention to the form, it is pure ego. This is a red flag that you guys really need to hone in on. Because talk is cheap. The talk has got to be backed up by actions. And what I could tell you is, the lower you go in consciousness and the more you work on the path, you will not only shred the personhood away or shed the personhood away. It's like shedding old skin. You're just shedding it off of you, right? So you're expanding and you're transforming, transcending the desires, the greed, the jealousy, the wanting of relationships, desiring to be rich with money. It doesn't mean you can't be rich. There's no longer a desire anymore for it, which means it no longer drives your life. There's a distinction there that must be made, and I will get into that further. The lower you continue to go in consciousness, you will transcend all of the hormones of the form. It is no longer trying to make yourself be a celibate. It's you are naturally a celibate. There is no more desire for sex because you are no longer looking at people as male or females. You're not looking at them as forms anymore. You transcend the hormones of the form. And this is real. So you must understand this. If you're looking for self-realization and God realization, this is exactly what happened to Ramakrishna. And it says right in the Gospel of Ramakrishna that once he hit God realization, he never had physical sex again. So you must understand that and be aware of that. If you're still wanting to have sex and wanting to have children and whatever, you've got to be very certain of what you're doing, because these things are real. And once you see, you can never unsee. And that's what I can tell you. So it's no longer for me that I must try to be a celibate. It's I am that. I can go out. I can enjoy everything in this world now. I can enjoy everything. I can even go, there's nothing that's off limits to me in this world. Nothing. You see, that's only religion that puts these rules and regulations on how you should speak, how you should dress, that you should be celibate, that you should be this, you should be that. Anything that has a you should, that is a rule that is in Maya. Because in the existential reality, there are no rules. I can go out and enjoy anything I want. And the point of the matter is, I can even walk into a bar right now and go sing karaoke. I can go drink alcohol if I want. I can go have sex if I want. The question really is that what I want? And the answer is a resounding no. Because what I will tell you is, when you have truly done the work on the path and truly decreased in consciousness, you are naturally withdrawn from the world. And what does that mean? Does that mean that I have now become a recluse? I have become antisocial? That I have become agoraphobic? Absolutely not. I can go anywhere I want, and I have no problem leaving my house and interacting with people. You have transcended these things, and this is reality. This is not just something you're reading in a teaching. This is reality. You have transcended the personhood, which means you have transcended the world, which means you can be in the world, but you are no longer of the world. So you have no interest in worldly things anymore. I have no interest in hanging out in a bar. I have no interest in small talk. I have no interest in politics anymore. I have no interest in anything that's of the world. And you see, anyone that tells you that they're a realized being and they're still massively involved in politics every day. And why do I bring up politics? It's because there's nothing more personal than politics. There's nothing more personal to people. Politics and religion, these are the two things that you are told never to discuss, that will always get you into an argument, because these are the two things that are most personal to people. When you see somebody out here every single day talking about politics, participating in worldly activities with sleepers, so where do you think where that person is? That person is a sleeper. As I said, when you wake up and you no longer see yourself as a form, you no longer see anybody else as the form. So if you are no longer asleep and you're awake to the reality, you naturally start moving out of worldly things. As the Bible says, you will be in the world, but you will no longer be of the world. So there's no more of, how do I say this? There is no good way to say this. There's no more of these petty things that go on. That's all ego, to say I'm better than you are. It's all ego. Because in fact, there is no one else. You see, and if you truly see someone that is separate from you, that you're attacking, you're still seeing yourself as the form, and you are a sleeper. And all of the activities, the constant daily barrage of political rhetoric, vitriol, hatred, it just compounds to add more evidence into the pot that sleeper. So these are things for you to look at, and I mean seriously look at. A person could tell you they're awake all they want. They will no longer be calling attention to the form. They will no longer be involved in the activities of the world any longer. It doesn't mean that they're not in the world and that they stop living. No, they live. They go to work. They do recreational activities, whatever they do. But what do I mean? They're not of the world anymore. It's that personhood stuff. That personhood stuff is vicious. It is vile. It is the backstabbing. It is the lying. It is the cheating. It is the ego stuff. I'm better than you. You're nothing. This is all personhood stuff. It is the lower level stuff. So although you're awake, you are still in the world. You are still going to live your life. You're still going to go to work. You're still going to interact with sleepers on a daily basis. You do not have to let anybody know that you are awake. And you will still interact with people, and because they are asleep, they will never know that they're talking to an awakened being. The thing that happens is, like everything else, you transcend the vileness of the personhood. You transcend it. And I think the best example that I had was seeing when you were in school, when you were learning a concept and the light bulb went on for you and your friend next to you was still struggling to understand it. Well, that is the difference between an awake being and a sleeper. and you could be standing right next to each other. You could be speaking with each other, and the awake person will be observing what's happening but not getting involved with anything. And you will never know that that person is awake unless they say something to you. You see, that's what happens. That is what happens. But there are telltale signs that definitely let you know that a person is still in the sleep. And I really have to tell you, I don't believe there's one person out here who is fully in God realization. Not one. And this is why I fall back to Papa G's words, that we will all be deepening in the self until we take our last breath. But it's only the genuine seekers that will actually say that to you. These ones out here that say they're God and they're finished and they're out here doing all of this vile, nasty stuff, you have to understand they're not even close to self-realization. This is another way how you can gauge yourself where you are on the path. Because if you say that you are not the self, you are, and listen, it's happened to me several times. This is how tricky the ego is, the false self is. That I was saying already, I don't see myself as the body anymore. I don't see myself as the body anymore. And then I caught myself seeing, let's say, a country music singer on television. And I'm looking at him and go, nice ass. Well, that is personhood. Sorry, you're still attracted to that form. That is personhood. So although you're telling yourself you don't see yourself as a body anymore, well, I sure saw that ass as a body, right? That is a dead giveaway. That is a dead giveaway. And that will go back to Moochie's song, The Duppy in the House. There's a ghost in this house where you think that, all right, I have really done the work now. I am no longer this form. But yet I'm looking at some man, and man, he's hot. Well, there's something not right there. And that is how you can gauge yourself. If you're a man and you're still looking at a woman and thinking, wow, she's hot, you're still attached to the form. And you really have to understand this. So whatever I'm telling you when you see about people out there, what you see about people out there is secondary, and it doesn't mean anything. Only to the extent of keeping yourself safe, so that you don't get taken in by these charlatans and these con artists. Remember what I said. Nobody knows if anyone is being reincarnated. You've got only now. Take every opportunity you have to wake up now. So what you see out there about these behaviors, understand we're mirrors for each other. We're mirrors for each other. So you have to be looking for these same behaviors in yourself. Well, for me, as far as I've gotten on this path, going back at the fake one over there, that was still personhood here. That was still personhood here. Oh, I wanted to lie to myself and say, well, Nisargadatta said the body will do what the body will do. The mind will do what the mind will do. It has nothing to do with me. That is the truth. That is the truth. But it cannot be used as an excuse to remain in the personhood. And this is exactly what I was saying about this Leela stuff. That these people are out here saying they're realized, but this is their Leela. So they can just go ahead and act all bad and continue their personhood behaviors and claim that they're realized. Well, you know what? They can claim whatever they want. They're not fooling anyone but themselves, because we are all going to face that time when we are leaving the form. And that's when all of this is going to be the most important for all of us. Because for those who have been sincere and genuine, the time of leaving the form will be a time of celebration. It will not be a time of fear. It will just be another transformation. And these are not going to be words. I've seen people out here who said they were done and they had nowhere else to go. And then possibly might have had cancer, and you could see the worry all over them. And then they said, "Oh, I just wish I knew it would be. I would be able to handle it better if I just knew." Well, see, that is a total fraud. That is a total fraud. That is someone who is still in personhood, who still sees himself as the body, and who still has a fear of death. And these are things that you have to look for. It's not to say that you have to have empathy for a person who claims to be a realized being and still displays personhood behavior. You should not have empathy with that, because they are being deceptive. And that is massively in the personhood. You only find deception in the personhood. So understand, these behaviors are universal. They're absolutely universal. And if you are not consistently doing introspection, if you are not consistently trying to transcend the concepts, break free of the personhood, this will not happen to you. And I don't care how much you want to go around and say you're a realized being. Nope, your behavior proves you're still in the sleep. That is the way it is. And it doesn't really matter how many people out here believe that you're a realized master, because the truth is going to come on that day when you're getting ready to leave the form and you're in massive fear. We don't fool anyone out here. We only fool ourselves. And that is the real crime about all of this. So as the masters in the self-realization series have shared, at how many 100 million people in the whole entirety of the human beings being alive on this planet, very, very few people have ever reached full God realization and self-realization. You have to understand this, that it is the wise ones like Papa G who tell you the deepening process is continuous. No one is ever done. And it's only the honest ones who are genuinely working on this path that will tell you that. Ever since I heard Papa G say that, those words have been ingrained in my being now. And that was another thing that stood out to me, that the authors of the self-realization series said, that the ones who are successful are the ones who hold on to certain things, and they will not move on to anything else until those things have become reality for them. And that is exactly what I've done on this path. There were small little things that you heard me repeat over and over again. Another one was the example that Muji gave to shift your focus. That's all you need to do is shift your focus. And he gave the example of a friend of his showed him a painting. I forgot what it was. Let's just say it was a vase with flowers in it. And the friend asked him, "What do you see?" And he told him it was a vase with flowers. And the friend said, "Is that all you see?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, shift your focus." And when he shifted his focus, he actually saw a second picture in there. That's exactly what happens between the self and the personhood. We just have to shift our focus. So it was these little clues that I've heard by the masters out here that I've never let go of on this path. And it was at times that I was so stuck on something and I had mass confusion. I'm like, what am I not seeing? What am I not seeing? And I remember a couple of times just outright, out loud, telling myself, shift your focus, shift your focus. And bam, the insight was there. But this is literally constant work with me. It's constant work. This is not just lip service. So actually, what is the importance of waking up? If we're already the self, what is the importance of waking up? Why are so many fakes out here saying that they're realized, and it's plainly obvious that they're still sleepers? They have all the behaviors of the personhood. So what is the importance of all of this waking up stuff? From my aspect, you have to understand it is not about name and fame. Understand it from the sleepers out here, the fakes out here. It's all about name and fame for them. They want to be known as an awakened being, an awakened guru, and yet they display all of the behaviors of the personhood. Okay? The importance, as I see it right now, to understand who we genuinely are is to stop the suffering in our life. To stop the suffering so that we can genuinely live a blissful life here, get all the experiences that we're here to get, and enjoy them without the attachment and without the suffering. That's what I say, why it is so important. It's not to have the name of being a realized anything. No, all of that is ego, and that is all in the personhood. And now I want to tell you two things that I heard from Sadhguru. One of them is, Sadhguru says, you could walk around saying that you're a nobody, but that's a nice somebody saying that they're a nobody. Do you get that? It has to be a person here, an individual here, to say that they're a nobody. And if you are out here saying that you're a realized being and there's nobody here, there's no personhood here, when obviously you're flaunting that you're a realized being and there's nobody here, well, obviously there's somebody here, because only the ego does that. And this is why, for genuine realized masters, there is no code of conduct here. And this is what I want to share with you. You see, all of these rules, expectations that you hear everyone online in the spiritual community say, that realized people don't ever go around saying they're realized and they're not chasing name and fame. These are all things that you've heard in Maya, and they're expectations. What actually happens as the personhood peels away from you, there isn't anything to speak about. And you fully understand that, like I said before, every shift that I had was not anything that I've done. I couldn't have possibly done it. So what do I have to brag about? I didn't do anything. So as you deepen in consciousness, these things become who you are. And it's not that you're reading something out of a book or you're pretending to be something you're not. I can tell you from my own experience on this path that when the personhood peels away and what I call a shift, and I do this now because it's not really a shift, all it is the personhood peeling away, because the self is literally watching this happen. So when I have this experience of a shift and this expansion happens, it is something that's very natural. There's nothing that I know in the personhood to do that could ever give me that experience. It's purely cosmic. Okay? So what do I have to brag about here? Absolutely nothing. And when the personhood is no longer here altogether, who's here to say that they're nobody? Who's here? It's only a somebody that's here that says they're nobody. That is ego. And that is what Sadhguru was saying. So you have to understand, this is why all these people that are saying they're God on earth and they're realized being, there is a somebody there, and it is their ego. And it's a dead giveaway when they do stuff like that. But it is no code of conduct that any realized being follows. It is just a natural progression or transcendence or transformation out of the personhood and into the self. And even those words don't do this justice. You're not into the self. You're not going into the self because that's the only thing that's here is the self. You see? So it's the peeling away of the personhood. There's nothing to speak about yourself anymore. All of this stuff that we talk about, it's all in the personhood. It's all has to do with ego and the psychological mind. When that goes, there is nothing to speak about yourself about. Because you are not this form. You're consciousness. And there are no words to describe what you are. So what is there to speak about yourself? That's the truth. These are all flashing lights for you to be looking at. And not only with people out there, but for yourself as well. And this is why I always said, I want to state exactly where I am. I don't want to play that I'm humble, because this is what some people out there in the spiritual community say that a spiritual person does, because that is ego. Ego can play humble too. It's a massive trickster. It's a massive trickster. Just like saying, you know, you're not the form, and then you're salivating when you see a guy in some tight jeans, or you see a girl's breasts, you see some cleavage, you start salivating. Well, no, I'm sorry, you're still attached to the form. You're still attached to your desire, and your hormones are still running your life. That is how deceptive the ego is. You must constantly be doing introspection, constantly. And a realized being who is no longer attached to the form will never be calling attention to the form. And that is fact. And when you no longer see yourself as the form, you will no longer see anyone else as the form either. That is a fact. You will transcend all of your desires, including the desire for sex. That is a fact. So the other thing I heard Sadhguru say, I had a derogatory comment made about the name that I put on my page. And actually there was a narcissistic laugh after that derogatory comment. So here's what I would like to share with you guys. I saw a video by Sadhguru, and the woman that was interviewing him called him a mystic. And Sadhguru is one that he does not like all these names and fames and titles, and he doesn't even like people to call him guru. He said, my name is Sadhguru, you can just call me Sadhguru. He doesn't want any attention being put on him that way, as if he's looking for name and fame. Okay? So, you don't have to give him all these names. His name is Sadhguru. So when the woman said he was a mystic, he explained, what is a mystic? A mystic is someone who sees what others don't see. And on that definition of that word, the name on this page is very accurate. As I said, I don't say I've completed the path, and I don't play fake humble. I am where I am. Never finished. But is a mystic seer accurate for this page? It absolutely is. For myself, I don't hold to any name here. I don't hold to any name. I had to think of a name for my page, and that was the name that I chose. It fits, it's reality, and it is only the sleepers who will ever make fun of somebody else's name or somebody else's page name or anything like that. That is jealousy. That is personhood. That is believing that they are better than somebody else. All of these things you must understand. These are all behaviors in personhood. Anything that it's jealousy, envy, anger, hatred, lust, stealing, lying, boosting yourself up. It's all personhood. It's all personhood. And you guys really have to see these things. And that really the only purpose for it is to keep yourself safe out here. If you're serious on a path, then you don't want to be getting your information from people who are not awake. And that really is all I want to say about this. But also, all of the same behaviors that you're eyeballing and you're spotting in these fakes out there, you must constantly be surveilling yourself for the same behaviors. Because I'm actually going to post that song by Muji on here, Duppy in the House. It's a ghost. The ego is a ghost. And it will hide in here because it does not want to die. It will do whatever it has to so that it will not be killed. It will tell you you are realized so that you will never make it die. It will play all kinds of tricks on you. And this is what the people from the self-realization series were talking about. So, in addition to having that ultimate fire inside of you, that desire to want to realize the self, you have to have that. You've got to understand what the personhood is. And that is what self-inquiry is. That is what this whole neti is. I'm not this, I'm not this. What you are not is everything that you've believed you were since you were born. You are not this personhood. You are consciousness, and anything other than consciousness, you are not. So you are not your name, you are not your gender, you are not your thoughts, you are not your beliefs. It's all in the personhood. And this is why the concepts and the personhood I call the web of the matrix, because they work together to bind us up and to keep us imprisoned in the matrix in ignorance. And there's too many people out here who would love to have you worship them, to believe that they've made it someplace that you're not, and let them enjoy themselves. That's all I'm going to say, because each and every one of us has to make that transition over to the other side, and that's really the only time it's really going to count for us, with the exception of, if we're to a place where we don't have a conscience anymore, then they're not being bothered, and they are going through their own suffering in their own way. This is the purpose of waking up, so that the suffering is gone, that you see the reality, that you are in oneness with everything. You're in harmony with everything. So you're no longer looking to hurt anybody. You're no longer will you ever think about starting a smear campaign on somebody. Never, ever. You're in harmony with everything. And it will all come down to that day when we are all going to have to face it, when we are transitioning out of the form. And the ones who were genuine on the path and who have literally done the work and genuinely reached self-realization, it will be a time of celebration, because we know what's next. It will be a time of celebration. It will not be a time of fear. This is when these fakes and these fugazis out here will meet their judgment day, because all the lies and the people they deceived and the people they led astray, it's going to hit them right then and there when they're ready to transition. The fear is going to be immense. The fear is going to be immense. So this is real stuff, you guys. This is not just words that you're reading in a book. It's real. And I'm here to tell you, self-realization is not about any experience either. Any experience that you have is either of the body or it's of the mind. You are already the self. You are the consciousness. And the ultimate reality is that you are the pure awareness. There is no experience that will make you that. Any experience you have comes from the personhood, and you have to understand that. The only experience you should ever be looking toward is the peeling away of the personhood. That's it. Any experience of Kundalini is just that. It's an experience of the form. Any visions you see, anything like that, it's a hallucination of the mind. And the self is actually witnessing it. When you get connected to the self, you will see this. The self is actually witnessing it. So when I was in meditation and I used to see Shiva all the time, well, who was seeing Shiva? It was the self seeing Shiva. The self is witnessing it, which means it's a hallucination. Okay? So you will get to this point, I promise you, but you've got to be diligent and you've got to stay away from the fakes out here. And I hope this has given you lots of tools and tips to identifying them, number one, but more importantly, how to identify these things in yourself. Because whatever you're seeing out there in other people, you must always look inside. Because people are mirrors for us. People are mirrors for us. And in order for you to be successful on this path, you have got to be brutally honest with yourself. With yourself. Okay, you guys, I'm going to end this here. Look at this, another hour. How about that? I could just talk all day long about this. Okay, we'll close. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachate Purnamashaya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vafishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Oh, that is full. This also is full. From fullness comes that fullness. Taking fullness from fullness. Fullness indeed remains. Om, peace, peace, peace. Om Namah Shivaya. Hallelujah.